Hello, my name's Adam Brown and this is my implementation show reel. So I downloaded the Hour of Code level from the Epic Marketplace and I added a bunch of features to it just so I could demonstrate a wider variety of sort of sound systems and skills in the level. I used Unreal Engine 4 and I used Wwise as well. Now I'll show the entire playthrough first and then I'll show a breakdown afterwards of how all the systems work and everything. The breakdown starts at this time and from there I'll break everything down. So I hope you enjoy and thank you so much for watching. Wwise and Unreal integration. So I used Wwise and Unreal to create this project, and I used Wwise's event space packaging throughout, making use of the Wappy Picker, which really increased the workflow and heavily reduced the time I spent getting the sounds from Wwise to Unreal. Spatial audio. Throughout the level I used AK Spatial Audio volumes to create the reverb zones. I did this rather than using reverb volumes as the spatial audio calculates and propagates the sounds in a more realistic way. Also I was able to use acoustic portals which connected the regions together and allowed for the sounds to properly spill into other regions. I think this worked really well and it makes the environment sound really believable. Footsteps. For the footsteps, I wanted to keep the main blueprint on the character looking clean and easy to use, therefore I used a function which I named getSurfaceType, which reveals a line trace by channel, leading into a break hit result which then identifies the surface type, which then speaks to a set switch which will tell Wwise the surface type, which is then linked to a switch container. It then fires a post event at the player location and produces the footsteps based on the material that is being detected. This is then sent to an RTPC which I've created, which raises the pitch on how fast the character is running, and this is determined by the velocity of the character, which is then converted to a vector length XY, which then feeds into the value of the RTPC node. Interactive platformer minigame. So I made a platforming section by using some of the existing assets from the level, and then animated the platforms moving in a level sequence. The minigame is then all contained in a giant box trigger, which sets off a camera shake when the player enters or leaves the region, and I've also got the earthquake sounds to progressively get louder and clearer as the player approaches the area. I also set an RTPC to the box trigger, which heavily low passes the day-night sounds, as I wanted this area to feel a bit more intense, therefore hearing the birds tweeting felt like it didn't really belong in that area. The sound from the moving platforms are triggered through notifiers within the level sequence. Then within Wwise, I've added randomizers to the volume, pitch, and low pass filter settings to create procedurally generated sounds. I've also added volume and low pass attenuation settings, which means you're constantly hearing new sounds all generated from just one sample. Day to night and volumetric fog. So I was able to make the sun rotate, creating a day and night effect in the level, which is then linked to a blend container in Wwise which transitions from day to night. Also, whenever it's nighttime, I've got a separate RTPC to turn down the wind, so the dynamics of the environment are very distinctive between day and night. The bed for the day and night sounds is quite minimal, featuring only bird sounds during the day with cricket and owl one-shots that are randomly spatialized at night. I made the decision to keep it minimal due to the existing sounds such as wind and Ludic sounds, as to avoid making the audio too busy for the player. I also added the volumetric fog because volumetric fog. It looks so good. Bouncy ball physics system. The bouncy ball physics is one of my favourite systems in the level, and I think it turned out really well. Originally, the ball was just for decoration within the level and was only featured in the start area. However, I was able to create a physical material with the qualities of a bouncy ball, then apply it to the ball while scattering them across the level. From there, I created an on-component hit leading into a branch. Into the branch was a get velocity float to determine the velocity of the ball, then calculate the vector length. And then I added a float greater than float so I could set the values of when I wanted the sound to trigger based on the velocity, and this is all leading into the condition for the branch. Those random containers each contain 6 separate samples with volume and pitch variation to create a wider array of sounds through the use of procedurally generated systems. So I ran into problems where there was simply no audio when the ball collided with the ground at a low impact, or it would fire way too many sounds at once. So I used a false branch which led into another branch. This effectively was the same system as before, except the velocity needed to be greater than 150 in order to trigger a sound, which then plays a separate post event containing more gentle ball hit sounds. Due to the nature of the ball, I've also limited the instances able to be played at one time to 3 voices for the lower impact and only 2 for the heavy impact, just to make sure that regardless of how the ball reacts in a game, it's always under controlled circumstances. One-shots and Ludic audio. So talking briefly about one-shots or Ludic audio used in the level, I was inspired by games such as Spyro and Crash Bandicoot, which feature more organic sounding minimalistic notification sounds for things such as coin pickups, gem pickups, key pickups, checkpoints, death sound, and jump power up. I wanted to avoid processing the sounds too heavily to match the style of the game. Thanks so much for watching, I really hope you enjoyed, and if you want to find out more about me, go to my website adambrownsounddesign.com. You can see my show reel for my sound design there, and also any contact details. So thanks so much for watching again.